The starship wasn't just dying, it was fighting its death. Metal shrieked like an animal in pain, echoing through the hollow corridors as Captain Jack Hadley sprinted across the tilted deck. His magnetic boots clamped and released with sharp mechanical clicks. His helmet visor flickered with heat signatures of ruptured wires and dying circuitry. Hadley muttered under his breath. "Most distress beacons say please help. This one says come die with me." Static crackled through his calm no answer. Just that same pulse, encrypted, sharp, and absolutely vexary. He shouldn't have come. Vexary's ships were restricted territory. Their queen, Saris Velcherin, was famous for solving diplomatic conflicts by vaporizing them. Humans were supposed to avoid anything bearing the Vexary emblem. Hadley wasn't a great listener. "Beacon source on Deck 12. His onboard AI Mira announced. Yeah? I see the smoke." Against his better judgment, he pushed deeper. The lights flickered, revealing slumped bodies of mechanical scavenger drones, their organic fibers twitching as sparks rained from exposed wiring. They weren't built to rescue. They were built to clean corpses. Hadley's pulse spiked. If these drones had already swept through, he might be too late. A blast wave rolled down the corridor. The deck lurched beneath him. "Ship reactors destabilizing," Mira warned. "You have maybe 7 minutes before containment breach." "Fantastic," Hadley muttered. "Would be a shame to die on a Monday." He turned a corner. The world froze. A figure lay crumpled beside a bulkhead door, framed by glowing emergency lights. Tall. Cobalt blue skin. Bioluminescent patterns curled across her arms like constellations shifting beneath the surface. Her suit, black, armored, lined with silver threads, was torn at the shoulder, exposing smooth alien muscle. Her white hair spilled across the floor like starlight. Not human. Not drone. He dropped beside her, pulling off a glove. He slid his fingers along the side of her throat, searching for a pulse. He found one, faint but steady. "Gotcha," he breathed. He didn't know who she was. He didn't care. Someone was alive, and that was enough. He pulled out an injector, pressed it to her neck, and activated a stabilizer shot. Her breathing improved immediately. Then her eyelids flickered. Golden eyes opened, not just golden but molten, pupils vertical like a predator's. Her gaze locked onto him with primal focus. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to silence. Her voice emerged as a whisper in a language his translator struggled to catch. "Hadin." Not a word. "A name?" Hadley swallowed. "Hey. Easy. I'm here too." Her hand shot up, grabbing his collar with surprising strength. She looked into his faceplate, confusion flickering into realization. "Human," she breathed. Her voice was soft. Surprised. Not fearful. Then she collapsed again, unconscious. Alarms blared. Drone signatures approaching, 200 meters. Ah hell! Hadley scooped her into his arms. She was heavier than she looked. Vexary bone density must have been insane. He activated his emergency extraction beacon, triggering his ship's remote startup sequence. The corridor ahead collapsed in a burst of fire. He sprinted the other way, navigating by memory and instinct. "I'm carrying royalty, aren't I?" he muttered. "Just once I'd like to rescue someone low profile." 2 drones rounded the corner, sleek, spider-like, their metal legs tapping against the floor. Their eyes lit red. Hadley slid to a halt, twisted, fired. Plasma rounds sheared through both, scattering molten fragments across the walls. Their bodies collapsed in twitching heaps. He didn't slow down. The airlock appeared ahead, battered, scorched, but intact. His ship waited beyond it, the Sparrow, a compact long-range hauler with more illegal modifications than legal ones. "Open!" Hadley barked. The airlock hissed and slid open. He fell through, slammed his palm onto the panel, and the doors sealed just as drones slammed into the other side. Inside the cockpit, he laid her gently in the co-pilot's seat. Her head lolled toward him, hair drifting in the artificial gravity shift. For a moment, just one, she looked peaceful. Hadley strapped himself in and grabbed the manual controls. The Sparrow jolted free from the disintegrating warship. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a jagged mess of rock and frozen debris. He punched the throttle. The Sparrow shot forward, engines screaming. Behind them, the Vexery's ship finally ruptured in a silent bloom of fire. The shockwaves shoved the Sparrow ahead, hurling them deeper into the asteroid belt. The console lit up. 3 drone fighters in pursuit. Of course. Couldn't just let me have the win, huh? Hadley growled. He dove between 2 spinning asteroids. Thruster flames slashed trails as he twisted the Sparrow through narrow gaps, practically scraping the hull. The drones followed, perfect, cold, synchronized. Hadley wasn't perfect or cold. He was human. He cut power to the main thrusters, letting momentum carry them forward. The Sparrow drifted into a spin, rotating nose first toward the drones. "Hey, Mira," Hadley said softly. "On my mark, full burn. Ready." He watched the drones close in, their formation tight and clean. Right into his trap. "Mark!" The Sparrow roared to life, slamming forward with brutal acceleration. The drones overshot, colliding with an asteroid. 2 vanished in a spray of metal and dust. The last one veered away. Hadley exhaled. Silence settled. He turned to look at the alien woman. Her breathing was steadier. Her skin glowed gently in the cockpit light. Hadley brushed a strand of hair away from her face. "Who are you?" Her lips parted. Barely audible. "Alia." "Velsharin." Hadley froze. Velsharin. The name every human briefing warned about. Alia Velsharin, missing twin sister of Queen Saris Velsharin, ruler of the Vexery Empire. The most feared woman in 3 sectors. "Oh no," Hadley whispered. "I just kidnapped galactic royalty." The Sparrow dropped out of faster-than-light transit with a violent shudder that rattled every unsecured bolt in the cockpit. Captain Jack Hadley muttered under his breath and adjusted the stabilizer settings. It didn't help. This ship was held together by hope, scrap metal, and questionable decisions. Ahead, Harrow Station rotated slowly around a dead moon. It looked less like a spaceport and more like a tumor spreading across the rock's surface. Patchwork modules welded together with no regard for symmetry. Neon advertisements flickered in mismatched languages, offering everything from replacement organs to no questions incubation services. Hadley glanced at the co-pilot seat. Alia Velsharin was awake. She sat rigid, back straight, hands resting on her knees with soldier-like control. Her bioluminescent markings pulsed faintly beneath clean bandages Hadley had applied. Her golden eyes tracked every detail of the cockpit, his ship, his controls, him. She didn't speak. Which was, in its own way, much worse. He cleared his throat. "Feeling better?" A slow blink. "Your vessel is small." "Compact," Hadley corrected. "Efficient. It smells like engine coolant and burned metal. It's called personality." She didn't smile. Her expression didn't move at all, but her eyes flicked to the emergency medical kit he'd left open. The used bandages. The stabilizer injector. Alia was observing, cataloging, analyzing. "Why did you help me?" she finally asked. Her voice was flat, but not cold, just controlled. Hadley shrugged. "You were dying." "That is not an answer. It's the only one I have." Silence. She studied him a moment longer, then turned toward the viewport. Harrow Station grew larger, its docking lights flickering irregularly. "That place radiates danger," she murmured. "You notice," Hadley said. "Good. Saves me time." He angled the Sparrow toward the docking ring and opened a calm channel. "Docking request. Independent pilot Hadley, ID 4 Zulu 7. Static, then a bored voice answered. "Docking fee is 800 credits. Pay or spin." Hadley flinched. 800? Yesterday it was 4. Station inflation. Click. Alia turned her head toward him slowly. "Are humans always extorted so openly?" "No. Sometimes they pretend to be polite first. He paid. The docking clamps latched onto the Sparrow with a hollow metallic thump. Inside Harrow Station, the air was thick with oil and recycled heat. Vendors shouted from behind makeshift stalls, hawking alien weaponry and illegal tech. The crowd was a strange mix: rough miners, bounty hunters, smugglers, and the occasional diplomat looking to disappear. Alia stayed close, not that she seemed afraid. She moved like a blade in motion, silent, aware, dangerous. Hadley noticed eyes turning toward her. Not curious. Predatory. Bioluminescent vexillary markings weren't subtle. She practically glowed. "You're drawing attention," he whispered. "I am royalty." Her voice held no arrogance, just fact. "Right, well, maybe royalty could put on." He pulled a spare jacket from his pack and offered it to her. "This?" She stared at it like it was a contagious virus. "It is human-sized. Congratulations on the observation. Put it on." Alia exhaled slowly and slipped into the jacket. The sleeves barely reached halfway down her arms. The collar was too tight. Yet somehow, she made the oversized garment look intentional, as if she were some elite model wearing battlefield couture. She caught him staring. "What?" "Nothing," he said. "Just noticing you have presents." Alia paused mid-stride. "Presents. Yes. That is your word choice." "Yep." If that wasn't vexillary for insufficient compliment, he would eat his flight gloves. They pushed deeper into the station. The supply broker. Wren's Tech Vault was a narrow booth wedged between a cybernetic tattoo parlor and a food stand advertising fried asteroid mantis. A mechanical sign blinked. No returns. No complaints. No witnesses. Hadley tapped the counter. "Rin. Need fuel cells, thermocouplers, and a stabilizer coil." A greasy man with thinning hair and too many teeth looked up. "Hadley," he said, stretching Hadley's name like gum. "You're alive." "Disappointing." "Likewise," Hadley replied. Wren's gaze slid past him to Alia. His pupils dilated. His smile sharpened. "Well, hello?" Alia stared back expressionlessly. "Your eyes are asymmetrical." Wren blinked. It's unusual for humans. Did you suffer cranial trauma?" Hadley coughed to hide a laugh. "She's new here." Wren leaned in, voice low. "Interesting skin tone. Anyone looking for her?" Before Hadley could respond, Alia placed her hand lightly on Wren's wrist. Her voice didn't rise. Didn't sharpen. It softened. "If you finish that sentence, I will detach your arm at the elbow and beat you unconscious with it." Wren paled. "Fuel is on the house." Hadley grinned. "See? Personality." They collected the supplies and ducked into a quieter maintenance corridor. Alia walked ahead, steps smooth and confident. Hadley jogged a few paces to catch up. "That threat was extremely specific. Accuracy improves compliance." "That's so?" "Yes." She glanced sideways at him. "Did you prefer diplomacy?" "Not really. Threat was faster." Alia considered that. Something faint flickered in her expression, maybe amusement. "Barely." Ambush. The corridor narrowed toward a dim service area, lit only by a flickering bulb. Hadley's instincts prickled. Too quiet. He reached out and lightly touched Alia's arm. "Stop." She halted instantly. 3 men stepped out from behind cargo crates, armed, confident. Bounty hunters. High-end. The middle one grinned. "Vexillary royalty. Alive. That's a payday with punctuation." Alia didn't move. Didn't flinch. Hadley slid slightly in front of her. "I think you have the wrong." She pushed him aside gently. "No. They do not." One hunter fired a stun round. Alia vanished. Not literally, but one moment she stood beside him, the next she was behind the shooter, twisting his arm until bone cracked. His weapon clattered to the floor. A second lunged, she swept his legs, slammed him into a wall, and disarmed him in one fluid motion. The third aimed a pulse rifle. Hadley moved before he could think. He grabbed a thermocoupler from his bag, slammed it against the rifle's barrel, and smashed the activation trigger. The coupler detonated in a flash of white heat. The hunter screamed and dropped the weapon. Hadley flinched. Ow! That was a stupid plan. Alia blinked at him. It worked. It also nearly blew my hand off. Yes. Stupid. Effective. She nodded. Human methods. Sirens blared deeper in the station. Someone had triggered an alert. Hadley grabbed her wrist. Time to go. Now. They ran. Back on the Sparrow. The hatch sealed behind them. Engines came alive with a rumble. Hadley threw himself into the pilot's seat. Alia stood behind him, unreadable. He exhaled. You okay? She looked at him for a long time. You placed yourself between me and danger, she said quietly. Why? Hadley angled the Sparrow toward the launch corridor and ignited the thrusters. Because you weren't just cargo, he said. You were scared. And you were alone. Alia absorbed that. Something subtle shifted in her expression. Not warmth. Recognition. Humans, she murmured. You act without logic. No, Hadley corrected. We act with heart. The Sparrow shot into space, leaving Harrow Station behind. Either of them spoke. But they weren't strangers anymore. Not even close.